This is Bernie Riley at CRL. Today's presenters will be myself and then Mary Wilkie, who's our Member Liaison and Outreach Services Director, and Virginia Carr, who's our Digital Services Manager, or Digital Programs Manager. The agenda will cover the collections overview, which you're now living through, the collection programs next, and then electronic resources, and then there'll be a question and answer period at the end. The Center for Research Libraries is a consortium of 250 academic and independent research libraries, mostly North American, but we also include the University of Hong Kong. We're an organization that supports, our basic mission has been to support advanced research and teaching in humanities and sciences and social sciences, with particular emphasis on on humanities and social sciences. CRL has long preserved materials that would have disappeared had they not been supported, had their preservation and management not been supported by the CRL library community. These range from area studies collections, rare and unique archives like the files of the Khmer Rouge from Cambodia to the French colonial archives in Senegal. CRL is increasingly making these collections available to you electronically, to libraries in the CRL community electronically. You'll hear more about that today. But what the one point I do want to stress is that we are not just a service or a collection or repository. We're really a collection building community. And so we are supporting not only cooperative collection building for not only the building of resources that reside centrally at CRL, but increasingly supporting collection building at your institution and at your consortium on the regional and state level basis. So since we are a community, we do thank you for participating. A lot of the content of this webinar is shaped by your expression of interest, your identification of interests and concerns. The CRL enterprise is really about a pooling of not only financial resources, but the knowledge and expertise of its large member community. So thanks for participating, and the next presenter will be Mary Wilkie, who will talk about collections programs.
As a member, you not only have access to CRL's present collections, but you yourself help shape the future through the programs we offer. Our collections are used for research by scholars, and as you know, one of the possible results of research is publication. Here are a few covers of works whose authors have made use of CRL collections. The very collections that have already been shaped by the expert knowledge in our community through participation in the programs we offer. Some of you today are very familiar with our programs, but for others this is their first introduction. I hope you will take away from this webinar a better understanding of the collection building programs CRL offers, and more importantly, I hope you make use of those programs. I want to talk first about the program that was designed to meet the individual scholar's research needs at member libraries throughout the year. The Demand Purchase Program covers 3 collections for which CRL is known for. The Foreign Doctoral Dissertations Collection. We collect dissertations from institutions and countries outside the U.S. and Canada. This program also covers newspapers for which CRL owns at least one day of the title, foreign or domestic. And archival materials from which includes materials from national governments, NGOs, and other organizations and institutions. These categories are all eligible to be purchased for a patron at a member library. The key points you want to remember about this program are It's triggered by an interlibrary loan request. This is why it's very important for ILL staff to be aware of the program, as it has happened that patron will put in a request for a demand purchase, and then the request be sent to another library and not CRL. The ILL staff also needs to know to include in the borrowing note field the phrase, "If not owned, please purchase." There is a $2,000 limit per patron per fiscal year for requests for both the demand purchase program and the Scholars Access program. It's run on a first-come, first-served basis as funds permit, although funding for these three programs and the Scholars Access program have never all been used up. So in the final quarter of the fiscal year, I may move funds from one to another if the needs arise. Some recent examples of demand purchase acquisitions includes these items: the population geography of the refugee camps in the Western Bank. This is a British dissertation that's available through Ethos because CRL paid for it to be digitized. In one case, a member library with special interest in turf grass submitted to us a list of foreign doctoral dissertations about grass. Each year we acquired $2,000 worth of works until we exhausted their list. This was a special case as there wasn't a patron waiting anxiously for any one work. Rather, they wanted to make sure CRL had the works in our dissertation collection available to their scholars when they needed them. While most often demand purchase newspapers have resulted in film being acquired, the important supplement to a Brazilian newspaper, Jornal do Brasil, Suplemento Dominica, and I'm probably murdering that title, was acquired on CD-ROMs for a scholar. Another CD-ROM purchase was the clippings file from Saldrew, and that was acquired through our demand purchase archives program. This next program, the Scholars Access program, was created to meet the changing needs of members when they brought it to our attention. In the electronic world, access is king. As has been proven since its inception, there are times when providing limited access is not only possible, but actually winds up providing more access to information than would have been possible if we acquired an item to be added to our collection. One can read more about the program on our website at the URL mentioned on the slide, but the key points to remember are: it's got to be a $300 minimum cost, there's a $2,000 limit, and it provides access, so it's not limited to material added to our collection, although that has happened. Finally, the patron must acknowledge CRL in any published or presented results. Here you see some of the things this program has provided scholars with access to. A newspaper not held by anyone in North America was available in an electronic newsstand product, and this helped the researcher writing her dissertation. In fact, why $2,000 would not have provided access to even a complete year of the Nottingham Evening Post, the limited terms access to the newsstand product allowed her access to multiple years, and that was critical for her research for her dissertation. Access to newspapers were also provided to two professors who first studied media coverage of the candidates in the primary and then in the presidential election. Another case was access to a rare book needed by a professor for his research. The item was held only in a few very special collections and not available for loan. In this case, we were able to provide a to purchase a microform copy of the monograph from the British Library. However, in most cases, the result is limited access for the scholar or a team of scholars. Many major sets or collections are too costly for individual institutions to acquire. Such sets also tend not to be readily available through interlibrary loan. Under the CRL Purchase Proposal Program, any member library may nominate for CRL to purchase materials in any format. The sets do have to meet certain criteria, and you see here some of them. It has to cost at least $1,000. It can't be readily available through interlibrary loan from others. It has to form a coherent unit or easily definable class. Electronic resources can be nominated, and nominations are open from January through the end of September. I have already sent out the username password for nominations to the contact at member libraries. If you are unsure of who this is, please drop me an email message after the webinar, and I'll get back to you on who I sent it to. Virginia will speak more about electronic resources later in the webinar. However, I know that one of the people who registered wondered about some electronic resources for nomination, and I would urge them to consider nominating them. And if you need help with the process, please contact me afterwards. I would like to point out that the purchase proposal item, doctoral dissertations from Israel, on the subject matter of Jewish and Israeli studies, really came out of my work with a member library who asked if they could use the demand purchase program to buy dissertations from Israel. I had told the person yes, but I also suggested, why don't we put together a package or a nomination on the ballot to acquire $15,000 worth of doctoral dissertations from a vendor in Israel who had a list of them. And this actually went really well. The proposal allowed CRL to acquire a greater number than would have been purchased by only using the demand purchase program. We limited to titles that were in some way related to Jewish and Israeli studies, but were not held by CRL, or at least were not held by 3 or more other libraries in the U.S. And I wanted to point this out because not every item on the ballot is a commercial product. Often we work together to form a nomination that's highly successful, and that one was. A question was asked about the types of purchase proposals that were successful and if there was a price range. On average, successful ones range from between $4,000 and $25,000. This is not to say that there haven't been more expensive ones purchased, but I think that the bulk of them fall in that range. Personally, I think the key factor in how successful a nomination is the reason given for the nomination. This is the chance for the nominator to persuade others that this item is important and should be ranked. I also feel that if the nominator is hooked in or connected to a listserv or a community that and is able to talk to other people at other member institutions and say, you know, you're a CRL member, you know this is important, make sure your institution ranks this item high. After that, I really can't be more specific. Newspapers usually do well, but sometimes they're not ranked high enough. And oddly enough, it seems that in those cases, they've been English language newspapers. Not from the U.S., but other places. So I really do feel that it's the nominator's reason that is the key point in making a purchase proposal successful. Someone's typed in a question. As a CRL member institution, our patrons can request materials for loan from CRL at no charge. Absolutely, that's what we are here for. But the $2,000 limit is in with the demand purchase program. If you have a patron and they want to request 10 years of a newspaper, that we don't already own, it's going to be very rare that 10 years of a newspaper can be purchased for less than $2,000. That limit is for the demand purchase program to acquire materials that we do not already own. And it also covers the Scholars Access Program. Say that a patron wanted to make use of an online resource, but also wanted to request several dissertations purchased. The total limit per patron per fiscal year for the purchase programs is $2,000. There is no limit to how much you can borrow. For the shared purchase program, this program is designed so that members pledge funds for the cooperative purchase. The sets might not have been of wide enough interest to warrant purchase through the purchase proposal program, or the nominating library may not wish for the purchase proposal ballot, which happens in the fall. The shared purchase program happens in the spring, and we've had cases where a library has not wanted to wait until the fall to see if a set could be purchased. Any member library may nominate items for both the purchase proposal ballot and the shared purchase ballot. It's a voluntary program, and it's up to the individual library to pledge funds if they can afford it to acquire the set they really are interested in. This past year, I want to recognize the libraries who contributed to the shared purchase program this last spring for 2010. In this difficult economic time, we really appreciate that there are still members who were able to put funds towards the cooperative collective purchase of sets. The items that were purchased were these 4 items, and you can see from the set's titles that they're not all English language materials. We had a question submitted about foreign language materials acquisitions. All our programs are really driven by you, the member. So we don't put the restriction, oh, this language can't be bought, or there's not enough money to acquire this foreign language item. It's really up to you making use of our programs. And please know that as part of my job, I work with members all the time in not only creating nominations, but just helping them figure out which program is the best to use for the individual case they cite. My final slide, I thought, was this timeline. There's 4 timelines. The demand purchase program runs throughout the year as funds permit, and does as does the Scholars Access Program. The Purchase Proposal Program is really open for nominations from the beginning of January through the end of September, and I want to urge you all to please do get your nominations in. Then in October, we work on a ballot, and at the end of October, the ballot is sent out. Our members vote or rank the items up through just before Thanksgiving, at which point we close the voting period and we tally up the votes and make final negotiations with vendors. The shared purchase program really begins in January, usually after I get back from ALA midwinter. I follow up with the libraries who have nominated something that was not purchased. I see if they wish to try for a group purchase. And then we compose a ballot in March, which is then sent out. And in April, from the end of March through the beginning of April, a pledging period is open for members to say they will contribute X amount of funds towards this purchase. And that really concludes my part of the webinar. There will be time at the end for more questions, and Virginia will speak next on electronic resources.
Good afternoon. Mary has already noted that electronic resources are eligible to be included in the various purchase programs, in the demand purchase service, in the Scholars Access Program, and in the purchase proposal nominations. Of course, for libraries today, obtaining access to electronic resources may involve a number of new acquisitions models. I'm going to outline several ways we are turning to new models at CRL, building upon our past strengths of identifying, preserving, and acquiring critical and at-risk primary source material. By focusing on the methods which CRL is using to expand digital access for members, unfortunately, I will only be able to describe briefly the contents of each electronic resource which I refer to. More information is available on our website. Also, we'll leave time at the end of this presentation for discussion and questions, or you can contact Mary or myself later for more information. First of all, I want to point out that CRL's in-house digitization service, active since 2007, brings our existing collections to scholars at CRL libraries through digital delivery and plan scanning. Items digitized in-house today exceed 2.6 million pages, and all items are linked from our catalog records. By applying fair use principles and limiting access to CRL institutions for any material in copyright, we extend this selective digitization program to some in-copyright materials, including portions of microform sets acquired through previous purchases. Collaborative digitization initiatives are very important models for expanding access to electronic resources involving many CRL member libraries. I will describe several of these initiatives. And finally, we've begun to explore negotiated discounts for member purchase of licensed content, and I want to discuss our most recent offerings in this area. The World Newspaper Archive is a very important element in our collaborative initiatives, and we hope it's a model that we can look to in the future. All the digitization is supported through member funding, and over 60 charter contributors have been joined by other CRL libraries who have elected to purchase based on scaled purchase pricing and a moderate annual maintenance fee. The modules already available on the platform, available through Newsbank, include a module on Latin American newspapers, Sub-Saharan Africa, which is nearly completed, and South Asia, which opened for trial access to all CRL libraries this summer, and recently purchase pricing has been sent out to CRL libraries to continue access to the South Asia module. All of the content for the World Newspaper Archive has come from microfilm holdings at CRL and member libraries who've partnered with us, and this has helped to bring together holdings for not widely held historical newspapers in various areas. The American Periodicals from the Center for Research Libraries, or APCRL, represents a different model for developing and distributing electronic content to CRL libraries. In this case, we provided the content to ProQuest, who has digitized and distributes and markets the material. This includes over 300 titles in popular and trade journals, and most recently we've been able to work with a couple of CRL member libraries to look to gap filling and extending the coverage of the content in the APCRL. There are purchase discounts available for CRL members, but the most important aspect of this partnership is the digital interlibrary loan feature, which will continue to be available to all CRL libraries, and that means that scholars with citations for individual articles, an individual volume or volumes, will be able to access and download files, even if the institution has not purchased the material. I do want to note with these various collaborative programs that there are various arrangements being made for archiving, for preserving the source material and archiving the files as well. And again, I'm giving you a broad survey of the kinds of models that we're making available, and we will certainly be able, and you'll find in other webinar presentations too, that we address some of the preservation aspects in more detail. An additional model for collaborative digitization is the work that CRL has done to help support the introduction of the British Library's electronic theses online service, which provides access to digitized dissertations from the majority of British institutions of higher education. As Mary mentioned, we are continuing to support the funding of the digitization cost for individual theses, which are requested by researchers. They now need to go directly to Ethos to request the thesis, but CRL will cover the cost as part of our demand purchase program. But we also wanted to help accelerate the digitization activities that the British Library is undertaking. So we worked with them and with our members to prioritize 400 titles. They happen to be titles we already held in microfilm. We identified those to the British Library and provided funding. Digitization is just being completed on these, and the majority of them are on Islamic themes of Islamic culture and politics. A new partnership, a new consortium partnership offers an additional model for providing electronic resources to CRL libraries. And I hope that all of you have seen the announcement or will be seeing more information in the near future about our partnership with LLMC, or the Law Libraries Microform Consortium. Through this partnership, the LLMC digital database will make available to CRL libraries. The current holdings are 20 million pages of retrospective materials converted from legal and government text held at various partner libraries of LLMC. And during the coming year, beginning now in August, access is available to all CRL libraries for the LLMC digital database. This should be a particular benefit to those institutions that do not have law schools or law libraries locally, which might already have access to LLMC digital. And we are planning to offer a special webinar in September, on September 22nd, to look at in more detail at the contents of the LLMC digital database and the implications of making this material available to support instruction and research in the various social sciences disciplines, opening up this material beyond the traditional use of, legal scholarship. A very important feature of the partnership with LLMC is a joint steering committee which will guide identification of collections for digitization, both from CRL's collection and from other repositories, where we can identify areas of priority for research among CRL libraries, particularly in area studies. African material is targeted as a first priority, and we're also looking to identify and encourage digitization of Latin American material by LLMC. So that we expect that the materials prioritized by the Joint Steering Committee will make up a very significant proportion of the approximately 5 million pages which are currently being added annually to the LLMC database. Now, I'd like to move on to talking briefly about this new area of investigation by CRL to look at supporting negotiated discounts for licensed material. Of course, negotiated volume discounts have been available through various regional consortia for some of the more broadly distributed digital collections. But what we'd like to do is look at filling the gaps for those specialized resources which relate to priority research areas of interest to CRL members, where there might not be a majority of buyers in any one particular consortium who could constitute a block of buyers to obtain a volume discount with the traditional offerings. So for the past, in the purchase proposal year just passed, there were several titles, several digital collection titles which were nominated, and of those, 2 rose to the top as being top priority for among the digital collections nominated. These were Mass Observation from Adam Matthew and The Making of the Modern World from Gail Singage. We worked with NERL, the New England Research Libraries Group, to obtain a volume discount offer from the 2 publishers, and this offer was made available in May of this year. We received very favorable reaction to the offer from CRL members, a lot of support for doing this at this time and continuing to look into these kinds of offers. As it happens, timing was tricky, particularly because both of these titles had already been available on the market and had been purchased by a number of CRL libraries. We also ran into timing of the fiscal year of some of our member libraries, but we did have some take up to what was very favorable pricing available for the 2 titles. So for this year, what we're looking at for this fiscal year is trying to target titles, if possible, during a pre-release period to really maximize the leverage that we could bring to bear on negotiating rates for local purchase of these materials. And of course, this impacts the timing of purchase proposals. The timeline that Mary outlined for you may start to look a little different in the coming years, where we're trying to team up at the point of pre-release for various products. 2 titles have come to us as priorities right now, and one of those is the Foreign Office files for Afghanistan, soon to be released from Adam Matthew, and the Times of India, for which digitization was announced by ProQuest to be included in the ProQuest historical newspapers. And we know that these, we've had several inquiries from members about these products. So what we're looking to do is to hold teleconferences, in which case we will have, right now we're talking to you and we'll have questions later, but at the teleconferences we really want to have a conversation to gauge member interest, to consider what types of options we might take to the table with the publishers of these 2 products. And the dates we've settled on are August 30th and September 8th, and we will be sending out email announcements, invitations to these phone conferences very shortly.